Hey guys, welcome back. Bob here from bobsplumbingvideos.com. We did a little video on making the transition from the P-trap up to your strainers in different applications, kitchen sinks, bathroom sinks. Now I want to go over with you in a little more detail, the connecting process with the nuts and the different types of washers that are available to you. This way, if you run across a situation like this, you don't get totally confused. At least I'll enlighten you a little bit and hopefully make it a little easier for you when you attempt to do this yourself. So let's jump down to the bench and check this out. Hey, welcome back to the bench, guys. Here we are up on top of my world famous workbench, and I'll tell you a little bit about this bench in a later video. And I just wanted to give you some examples, more examples of the connecting of your tubing to your sinks, etc. Now what I have here on my left, your right, is a couple of chrome plated slip elbows. Okay, 1.25 inches. This is the typical size you'll see in a bathroom. Here's your offset. We have some 1.5 inch tubing available too. This is a stainless steel tailpiece that I had on a job where I put a high-end strainer in for somebody, but this didn't reach, so I save it because these always come in handy. And this is stainless, but it also comes chrome as this 1.25 inch tailpiece, which is used in a bathroom application. And this is threaded, as you can see. When you buy these, they're 12 inches long. They come double-sided, double-threaded, so when you cut one end off, you have another piece that's left over with a thread. And so you can use that on the next job, which is always quite handy. Here's your 1.5 inch rough brass tailpiece. And when I refer to a tailpiece, what I'm talking about is a piece of tubing with a flange on it. You can see that there's a flange on top of there, and that's where your gasket sits. So when you put your nut on here to tie it into your strainer, that'll allow the nut to pull up and bring this right up to the strainer. And that's how you make your watertight seal. What we have over here are some connecting methods. Now, before I go into this, I just want to tell you that the rough brass material is available in chrome, and the chrome is available in rough brass, depending upon what part of the country you're in. Predominantly here in New York City, when you buy bathroom tubing, which is this stuff, it comes chrome. And when you buy tubing for under a kitchen sink, it comes this way. When I started years back, there were very few cabinets, so what they did was they had an exposed sink, a wall-hung double sink with a shallow sink on one side and a deep tub on the other side that was hung on brackets, and they had these big, huge cast iron legs, and everything under the sink was exposed. So we would typically go out and get this 1.5 inch tubing in chrome. So it looked great. Even the traps came chrome, which was kind of cool. But you don't see that anymore because since the advent of cabinets, everything is hidden, so who cares? Okay, connecting methods. I went over this a little bit briefly in the previous video on transitioning from the P-trap to your strainer, but I just wanted to make you aware of when you buy these things, offsets, waste bends, 1.25 inch, 1.5 inch, they come with the nuts on them. They'll supply you with the nuts, they'll supply you with the gaskets. And it's either going to be a beveled gasket as such, or it's going to be a rubber gasket. Same gasket, just different manufacturer. That's why it's red. And these nuts, they do the trick, but what happens over time, these are die-cast zinc nuts, which is a pretty, cheesy material. And what happens over time is they'll get fused on here. You won't be able to, after you tighten them, come back 6 months later to try to take them off. They just get fused on there. If you put some grease on here, waterproof grease, that'll kind of maybe give you a little more life in terms of removing the nut, but eventually these nuts are going to get fused on. So if you're concerned about that, then what you're going to have to do, or what you do like I do, is I purchase brass nuts. These are solid brass, chrome-plated nuts, and I do this mainly in the bathroom application on the bathroom traps, because a lot of times they're exposed. I want them to look great, and I need them to come off should I have to sometimes maybe snake a drain. I'd like to take everything apart instead of cutting everything off. So they do come brass. This is a reducing nut, 1.5 inches by 1.25 inches. This is a full 1.5 inch nut, which you will get on a trap. If you buy an 1.5 inch trap, you're going to get an 1.5 inch nut. How do you make the transition to 1.25 inches? As you can see, that's a little loose there. So what they supply you with in that case is they give you this reducing nylon beveled washer, which does the trick. I mean, that's the way it's supposed to happen. Excuse my hands. But what I do, what I prefer using rather than use this 1.5 inch nut, I like to use a reducing nut, which is 1.25 inches inside, 1.5 inches outside. This will go onto the trap. My tailpiece goes in here, and you can see how much tighter that is. Then I will use a brass friction washer. Because when you purchase this, I purchased them in a package. It comes with 3 pieces. It comes with a nut, comes with a friction washer, and comes with a rubber gasket. And that friction washer, that brass washer, allows the nut to turn freely. Because if you don't put that friction washer in there and you try to tighten this down, as this gets tight, it's actually going to bind up, and actually as you let off your wrench or your pliers, you'll see the nut kind of go back a little bit, like it wants to unloosen itself. And that's just because it's slammed up against the rubber. And to avoid that, you use a friction washer. And the friction washer will just right against the bottom of the brass nut, and you'll end that problem. I also like to use, if I don't have these flat washers available to me, I use the beveled version, which is, again, kind of a reducing washer. It's 1.25 inches, and it's got a bevel on it, which actually sits down into the trap quite nicely. Again, the friction washer in my nut. But in any case, when you make the connections using these nuts, what I suggest to you is always lubricate the threads on your fittings. Waterproof grease works, Plumber's waterproof grease, but you know, a lot of times I carry that in my faucet repair kit, but a lot of times I'll just have a little pipe joint compound. Very sparingly put that on there, and allows the nut to run up freely, and then you could literally, if you're going to use the beveled washers and you lubricate this, and you can literally hand tighten everything. Now you can certainly use the rubber washers. The key here is lubricating the threads on these, allowing these nuts to roll up all the way, and that's going to solve all your problems. Because if you try to do it dry, I mean, it'll work, but if you want leak-proof, no callbacks, and in the professional world, I need no callbacks. I lubricate all my threads. And that's pretty much it, guys, for this segment. You have choices. Again, in different parts of the country, there may be different connecting methods. I'm not sure, you know, but pretty much what you see here runs the gamut here in the New York City area. You just need to be aware, you know, die cast, this is a die cast nut. This is a chrome plated. Now, it looks pretty, it looks great, but it's just a die cast zinc nut. When you want to upgrade, you would want to upgrade to a brass nut, and that's forever. These will last forever. They'll come off whenever you need them to come off. You know, I guess the downside, if you want to call it a downside, is they're expensive. But again, listen, I'm a professional plumber. I tend to use better stuff whenever I can get it. But that's not to say these won't work. They'll most certainly work. Guys, there it is. Questions, comments, concerns, something you didn't understand, info@bobsplumbingvideos.com. That's pretty much it for this video, guys. I want to thank you for stopping by. To all you plumbing warriors out there, I hope to see you in the next video.